When the truth finally hit the room, it didn't arrive quietly. It crashed through it like thunder. Joseline Hernandez, the self-proclaimed Puerto Rican princess, stood frozen as the whispers became words and the words became proof. Natalie Nunn, someone she had once laughed with, confided in, even defended, was now the name attached to her deepest humiliation. The air felt heavy, charged with betrayal and disbelief. Her fiancé's silence said more than any denial could. Cameras rolled, eyes widened, and for the first time in a long time, Joseline couldn't find the strength to perform. The tears came before the anger, a quiet collapse before the storm. What began as gossip had become devastation, an exposed secret that would shatter loyalties, reputations, and hearts before the night was over. It started like any other dinner gathering, lights low, music soft, laughter flirting at the edges of the moment. Joseline Hernandez arrived late, her entrance smooth but heavy with something unspoken. She had just wrapped a long week filming, and though she smiled as she greeted familiar faces, her eyes carried exhaustion. Across the room sat Natalie Nunn, radiant in a sleek outfit, deep in conversation with Joseline's fiancé. A subtle shift in the air made Joseline pause. She watched them, measured their words, and the laughter that seemed just a little too close. In that fragment of time, something in her core stirred, a premonition perhaps, of what was about to unravel. The dinner progressed. Joseline tried to stay light, to focus on her guests, but the corners of her vision kept narrowing toward that table. She overheard a phrase, "I've got you," followed by a nervous laugh from her fiancé. Natalie's posture brushed toward him as she leaned in. The moment flickered before fading into the background of friendly chatter, but for Joseline it registered. Her pulse quickened, her composure flagged. Over the near-transparent smile she maintained, the storm was gathering. Later, in the car ride home, the memory replayed. The "I've got you" line, Natalie's ease in the presence of her fiancé, the way his gaze lingered. Joseline's mind didn't settle. She couldn't convince herself it was nothing. By the time they arrived at home, she had drafted a question in her head, one she was scared to ask yet couldn't ignore. But when she began that night, her voice held tightly around the question. "What did I just see?" she said quietly. Her fiancé looked startled, tried to reassure her. "It's nothing, babe. You're overthinking." But Joseline's intuition refused to let go. In the days that followed, she replayed every scene in her mind. The dinner, the laughter, the way Natalie stood. Nothing was concrete, yet everything felt like proof. She tried to carry on, shooting, meetings, appearances, while a knot in her stomach wound tighter. The whispering began. Fans, bloggers, castmates hinting at unseen secrets, late-night texts, and unexpected rendezvous. Joseline didn't respond publicly yet, but inside her world narrowed to Natalie, her fiancé, and the subtle betrayals that seemed to defy explanation. She confronted Natalie socially at an event, the smile between them brittle, the tension electric. Natalie's eyes flicked away. Joseline's remained steady. It was clear the onstage chemistry masked a deeper connection. Natalie laughed easily when the cameras were rolling, but Joseline watched what happened afterward. The way Natalie's phone lit up, the late-night glimpses of her fiancé's name on some screen. The social media posts followed. Cryptic captions, deleted stories, ambiguous truths. For Joseline, each one was a piece of evidence. For Natalie, perhaps just part of her brand. But where Joseline stood, the line between personal betrayal and public spectacle blurred. As the reality of the affair began to surface, screenshots, whispers, online chatter, Joseline felt all the years of loyalty, glamour, and public performance collapse. The queen of her own narrative suddenly found herself on the defense, and this time, the tears weren't part of the show. They were real. The next morning began in silence. The phone on Joseline's bedside table wouldn't stop buzzing. Calls from producers, texts from castmates, and dozens of social media notifications lighting up one after another. She ignored them all. She had seen enough during the night. A leaked DM thread, screenshots of late-night messages between Natalie and her fiancé, and a short, blurry clip from a nightclub that sent the internet into a frenzy. In the video, Natalie's hand brushed his shoulder while he leaned in too close. It was only a few seconds, but those seconds cut like a blade. By noon, every blog had a headline: Natalie Nunn and Joseline's fiancé, caught too close for comfort. Fans dissected every frame, comparing timestamps and outfits, debating whether the clip was old or new. But Joseline knew better. She remembered that shirt. He had worn it last week. The realization made her stomach twist. Her fiancé tried to do damage control, calling repeatedly. "It's not what it looks like," he said in a voicemail, his tone strained, defensive. "You know how people spin stories for clicks. Don't let them mess up what we have." But Joseline wasn't ready to listen. She needed space to process, to breathe, to think. Still, in the world she lived in, privacy was a luxury she could no longer afford. By the afternoon, producers from her show had reached out, gently suggesting that she address the rumors on camera before someone else controlled the narrative. The idea made her sick. Her pain had become content. Her heartbreak was a storyline waiting to be monetized. She agreed to film, not out of obligation, but because silence would have been interpreted as guilt or weakness. When she arrived on set, the crew avoided her eyes. Cameras rolled quietly as she sat in the confessional chair, her hair sleek, her face flawless but tired. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then, her voice broke through, low but steady. "Everybody wants to know how I feel. How I'm supposed to feel when the person I trusted the most turns out to be another headline. But let me tell you something. Being strong doesn't mean not breaking down. It means standing up when they expect you to fall." The words hung in the air, raw and unfiltered. No shouting, no theatrics, just truth. When the episode aired, viewers flooded the internet with support. Clips of her confessionals spread like wildfire. "This is the real Joseline," one fan wrote. "No gimmicks, just a woman hurt, but still standing." But strength didn't erase pain. That night, after the cameras stopped rolling, she sat alone in her dressing room. The makeup wipes smeared away the last traces of performance, leaving only the woman behind the persona. Her phone buzzed again, another message from him. "Can we talk in person?" She hesitated before replying, "Come by, but I need honesty this time." When he arrived, the air between them was thick with tension. He tried to embrace her, but she pulled back. "Don't touch me," she whispered. "Not until you tell me the truth." He sighed, running a hand over his face. "It wasn't like that, Joseline. Natalie and I were cool. That's it. People see two people talking and make up whatever they want." She stared at him, her expression unreadable. "Then why are there messages? Why are there late-night calls? Why did she delete her posts right after that video dropped?" He hesitated. Too long. The silence told her everything she needed to know. "Joseline," he started, but she cut him off. "Don't. Just don't." Her voice trembled now, tears threatening to spill. "You had me out here defending you, looking stupid. Do you have any idea what that feels like?" He reached for her again, desperate now. "It was a mistake. It didn't mean anything." Her laugh was sharp, bitter. "That's what they all say, right? It didn't mean anything. But it always means something. It means you chose someone else over me even for a second." She turned away, gripping the edge of the vanity for balance. The reflection in the mirror showed a woman on the verge of breaking. "Get out," she said quietly. He tried to protest. But one look at her eyes ended the argument. He left without another word, and as the door closed, the tears finally came. Heavy, unrestrained, unstoppable. The next few days blurred together. Joseline retreated from the spotlight, disappearing from social media entirely. Paparazzi photos surfaced of her leaving a studio in sunglasses, head down. Headlines speculated about a breakup, a cancelled engagement, a possible legal dispute. Some accused her of exaggerating the situation for publicity. Others praised her for walking away. The noise was deafening. Through it all, Natalie stayed silent. She didn't confirm or deny the affair, instead posting cryptic captions about people showing their true colours and fake friends playing the victim. Her silence fueled the fire. Fans divided into camps, Team Joseline and Team Natalie, each defending their favourite with ruthless passion. Behind closed doors, Joseline was trying to pick up the pieces. She met with her team discussing damage control, future projects, and public statements. But what no one saw was how broken she felt inside. The woman who once commanded every room now struggled to face her reflection. And yet, beneath the heartbreak, a new kind of fire began to burn. It wasn't anger. It was resolve. She had spent years building her brand on strength and dominance, and she refused to let betrayal define her. What hurt now would one day fuel her. What was meant to destroy her would eventually become her rebirth. By the end of that week, she posted one message on social media, a black background with simple white text. The truth always finds its way, and when it does, so will I. The post went viral within hours, reigniting the conversation, but this time, the tone was different. People weren't pitying her anymore, they were rooting for her. The world had seen Joseline break down. Now it was ready to watch her rise again. The storm that followed didn't die down. It evolved. The internet had turned Joseline's heartbreak into a narrative, one dissected on gossip blogs, podcasts, and TikToks. But while the world turned her pain into entertainment, Joseline was quietly rebuilding. She had always known how to turn chaos into control, and this time, she wasn't going to let betrayal be her ending. Days turned into weeks. The initial shock was gone, replaced by an eerie calm. She no longer cried when she saw his name. She no longer felt anger when Natalie's face flashed across a headline. What she felt now was resolve. Her publicist wanted her to issue a statement, but Joseline refused. "I don't owe the world an explanation for what someone else did to me," she said. "I'll tell my story when I'm ready, on my terms." That opportunity came sooner than expected. Producers from a talk show reached out, offering her a segment to share her truth. Normally, she would have rejected it, but this time she saw an opening. Not to expose anyone, but to reclaim her voice. When she walked onto the stage, the audience applauded louder than usual. She looked composed, dressed in white, her hair slicked back, her energy different, no longer the fiery provocateur, but a woman tempered by pain and clarity. The interviewer didn't waste time. "Joseline, the world saw you go through something deeply personal. You were betrayed by someone you trusted. How are you now?" Joseline took a deep breath, her voice steady but heavy with honesty. "You know, I used to think being strong meant pretending things didn't hurt. But I've learned that strength is feeling everything and still choosing not to let it destroy you." She paused, looking into the audience. "When I found out what happened, I broke down. Not because I lost a man, but because I lost faith. For a minute. In myself. I forgot who I was." The audience was silent, hanging on every word. "But here's the truth," she continued. "When people betray you, they don't break you. They reveal themselves. And what they reveal is not your weakness. It's their lack of loyalty. So now I'm thankful, because I'd rather be hurt by the truth than comforted by a lie." The clip went viral within hours. Fans filled her comment section with messages of support. Celebrities reposted her speech with captions like, "Queen Energy." Even some of her former critics admitted that this was a different Joseline, a woman who had evolved beyond the chaos. But while the public celebrated her rebirth behind the scenes, she was still confronting the remnants of betrayal. Her ex-fiancé had been reaching out, hoping for reconciliation. His messages grew more desperate as she continued to ignore them. Finally, one evening, she agreed to meet, not to reconcile, but to close the chapter once and for all. They met in a quiet lounge away from cameras. He looked worn down, guilt visible in the slump of his shoulders. "I just want to say I'm sorry," he began. "I messed up. I lost the best thing that ever happened to me." Joseline nodded, calm but detached. "You did," she said simply. "And I'm not here to punish you. I'm here to forgive you because I can't carry that weight anymore." He looked at her surprised. "So that's it? You're really done?" "I've been done," she said softly, but I needed to say it out loud. You see, when people show you who they are, you have two choices: hate them for it or thank them for saving you time. I'm choosing gratitude. He didn't know what to say. For the first time, he saw her not as the woman who fought for him, but as the one who had outgrown him. When they parted, she didn't look back. The sound of her heels on the marble floor was the only reminder that she had ever been there. That night, Joseline went home and sat by the window staring at the city lights. The pain was still there, but it no longer controlled her. She thought about Natalie, how betrayal often says more about insecurity than malice. For the first time, she didn't feel anger toward her either. She simply let it go. In a strange way, the entire ordeal had reminded her of who she was before love complicated things. A woman who built herself from nothing, who rose despite every obstacle, and who never needed validation from anyone to shine. Within months, Joseline turned her heartbreak into purpose. She launched a new project, a mentorship platform for young women in the entertainment industry, designed to teach them how to protect their image, their money, and their hearts. She called it Unbreakable. "If my story can save someone else from losing themselves," she said during the press launch, "then it was worth every tear." The announcement sparked praise across the industry. People admired her transformation, how she had taken scandal and shaped it into empowerment. Even Natalie, months later, issued a subtle olive branch on social media, writing, "Growth looks good on everyone. No hate. Only lessons." Joseline didn't respond publicly, but she smiled when she saw it. Maybe forgiveness didn't require friendship, just peace. As the year came to a close, Joseline stood on stage during one of her live performances. The crowd roared, chanting her name. Under the lights, she felt something she hadn't felt in months: joy. Not the performative kind, but the real, steady kind that comes from survival. When the music stopped, she took the mic and said, "They thought they could break me, but I'm still here, stronger, wiser, and still the queen of my story." The audience erupted in cheers. It wasn't just a concert. It was a declaration. A woman who had been betrayed in front of the world had found her strength in front of it too. By the time she walked off stage that night, she didn't feel broken anymore. She felt free. And for Joseline Hernandez, that freedom was the most powerful revenge of all. In a world that thrives on drama and downfall, Joseline Hernandez chose something different. She chose to rise. Her heartbreak wasn't her ending, it was her transformation. She turned betrayal into power, pain into purpose, and silence into strength. The story of her tears became the story of her triumph. Now it's your turn. Do you believe pain can be the push that shapes our power? Can betrayal become the fuel that builds a stronger version of you? Share your thoughts below because, like Joseline, sometimes the real victory isn't revenge, it's rebirth.